listeners and friends of the festival. Welcome to Off Screen with OFFA. I'm your host, Maddie, and I'm so excited to present our fourth episode, a conversation with Akil McKenzie, director of the short film Legacy Voices. Akil's film was produced in partnership with the Canadian Caribbean Association of Halton and shares the experiences of some of the first Black people to live in Ontario's Halton region. Akil was such a great guest, and his film serves as a document of the diverse contributions of Black people in our local community. Take a listen. Welcome, Akil, to Off Screen with OFFA. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon to discuss your short film, Legacy Voices, which is screening with us at this year's 2021 festival and highlights the contributions of Black people to Oakville and its surrounding communities. Tell me a bit about your background as a filmmaker and your relationship to the Halton community.
Well, I currently reside in Oakville. I had come here for school when I went to Sheridan, and I am still kicking it. I enjoy Halton in terms of its area because I run a media production company, and there's plenty of studios that are filmed in or studios we film in Halton, as well as Toronto. But then there's events and stuff that get shot in Brampton and shoots that happen in Mississauga. Oakville is a really nice middle ground for that. And we do a lot of stuff with the community of Halton, as well as the Canadian Caribbean Association of Halton as well. Like there's cooking shows that we've been filming that get screened by Kojiko. We have a whole bunch of episodes of that. We've been doing community-based stuff that's also screened in schools. So there's a lot of work actually within the town of Halton, which is really cool. It feels like we're a piece of it. And you said about myself, history of myself. I'm a director, editor. We could say cinematographer because I can do it. Do I like to do that anymore? I prefer to give someone else a camera, to be honest. But yeah, I also produce. I never wanted to produce, but it just happens. That's what happens kind of when you run a company, you end up doing producer-like things. But yeah, that's basically me. I've been doing this for a while. The film company itself has been up for 2 years now. Falling Motion. Yeah, that's me.
Awesome, fantastic. And that's great to hear that you have such deep roots in the Halton community. And then and that you are a Sheridan alum. That's awesome. What motivated you to make this film? And to speak also to the people that you spoke to, and what do you hope people will take away from it?
Mm. The motivation behind the film um, initially came from a request because Andrew, who's the head of the Canadian Caribbean Association of Halton, had reached out to Sheridan and said there's this project they wanted to do in order to create this time capsule, basically of memories um, of some of the very first Caribbean individuals to ever come into the Halton region. And Sheridan was like, what you need is a video production company. And they're like, we know exactly the one. So I got called up. I rolled up, and it was basically, how do we take these memories and put it for its purpose, which is the capsule? But while we're in this area, why not create something beautiful, because these memories and these things that we're going to learn and be told, and just this information in itself has a beauty to it, right? And that's how the documentary was basically created, out of the beauty of information. We just went around to as many individuals that were connected to those roots that we were looking for, found their stories, and then figured out how can we piece these stories together to create one simultaneous narrative.
I love that. I love the idea that it's sort of an archive of memories. That's so fantastic and such a lovely way to really cherish and celebrate these people and everything they've accomplished. And such hope for the community to continue to flourish. I think that's awesome, and I think the film definitely has contributed to that. I really like it. It really is such a lovely film. Like, it really does have its moments of real connection, and also its moments of levity. I really enjoyed it. What was the most surprising or inspiring thing that you learned about the people featured in the film while you were shooting?
Um, th- One of the wildest things I learned was that Oakville had its own underground railroad.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea that Oakville was down like that. I was like, that's crazy, especially after having found out that there were long line routes to Oakville being a main hub for KKK as well. And I
Really?
was like, those are two very differing narratives
Yeah.
um, that I found out in this film altogether, and that in itself was wild. And then also hearing about the stories of how the town of Halton, city of Halton, um, gradually like changed over the years and became a place in which culture is now easily seen, where it's not as big of a deal to see, Black individuals walking down the street of Halton. Like that's that's there. Like, we're there, and that in itself was also something to learn, to just kind of like how that progress happened and where those changes began, especially as an individual currently living there.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's definitely very interesting to hear how the community has evolved. Um,
Mm,
yeah, that is definitely some interesting discoveries there. Very sort of mixed past, but it's so great to see how much progress has been made, and how much progress will hopefully continue to be made.
mm.
Um, how long did it take to shoot this particular film, and how did you finance the project?
How long did it take to shoot? I think we had, going off of memory, th- 3 or 4 shoot days. I think the interviews were split into 2 days, and then there was a day of B-roll, or the interviews were split into 3 days, and there was a day of B-roll. I have a terrible memory, but it was something like that. And in terms of the actual financing, it was government funded, since it was for the Oakville Museum. So it was funded to the museum and CCAH, and then they together went out, brought the money towards us, and were like, how do we utilize this? And that is also something very interesting, when the funding doesn't come from funders who specifically utilize that money for film, like often, or they haven't done it before. They just come with like money in their hand, and it's very guarded, and they're just like, so what do we do with this? And you have to explain like a lot of where money goes to, because automatically, if you say something like $10,000, right, they'll be like, why is there $10,000 in a single day of shooting, or like 2 days of shooting? And you're like, well, for all these people to get paid, and for all this equipment to get rented, and for all this food that we have to have, and transportation. And they're like, whoa. So that's always something important to know when speaking to funders who aren't necessarily well versed in the creation of film,
Yeah.
to be able to just explain that and know and be confident with it too. Because if you're not, then they might feel a little scared about it and be like, I don't know if I want to give it to you anymore. So that's something you have to do whilst going forward.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And also in terms of those sort of expenses that went into your budget, was the
Mm-hmm.
drone footage part of that? Because I loved the drone shots of the Halton area. I thought those were so great. And that combined with also sort of the tempo that you set with the editing, I thought was awesome. But I'm just curious, like, how did that factor in?
Oh, so you just reminded me what the fourth day was. The fourth day was the drone footage. Um, and the drone footage that was budgeted in, and we had our DP take the drone, because he had also gone and gotten his drone license and everything, and he flew it around Halton, and was able to get those shots but they didn't come from just the idea of like, all right, let's just put up the drone. We were thinking of like, what are things kind of that we feel, not necessarily that the world knows of Halton, like it's like, oh, you know this and you know that. It's like, as people who live here, what are places that we're kind of connected to that we know? So that way it's almost like this like insider's look. You know what I mean? Like if you're from the city, to go to like that shack to eat as opposed to like going to the one food place everybody knows about, like that kind of feeling when we went to go shoot it. And that's how come there were those specific spots and locations that were filmed on the drone.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. I also really love how at the end of the film you have that lovely drone shot of just like the Oakville harbor there, near near the lighthouse. I thought that was great. It's such an iconic sort of Oakville location. The museum's right there, obviously too, but also there's so much history grounded, as you said, with the Underground Railroad in that location. So cool that you included that at the end. What do you believe that our communities, even the film community at large, whether it be Halton or the film community, can do better to ensure that Black voices are being highlighted and celebrated?
Giving funding to Black creatives, but not only the Black creatives who want to express the Black narrative. Because in a way, that starts to keep people within the box of what the perception of Black individuals are. If every film that you see that was given funding or that you are able to see that gets screened or streamed is the Black experience, which has something to do with some sort of poverty or some sort of hip hop and dance, which of course are stories that need to be told. But if those are the only stories that get told, as opposed to like, hey, fund Black films that are just the average rom-com, and it's a Black creative, and the film isn't about being Black. It's just Black creatives can create any movie. It doesn't have to be grounded in the Black experience. So being able to give room and opportunity for Black creatives to create any kind of content and not feel like, oh, if I want to make something, it's going to definitely have to be like Black History Month based in order for people to want to watch it. That gives actual freedom to the creators to make what they want to make.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes total sense. And funding it based off of something that they're contributing to the whole human experience, and as much as there absolutely is a place for those films that do express specifically about the Black experience, having the option to be able to cover many topics and many facets of the human experience, I think that makes a lot of sense. That's great.
Hey.
Do you have any future projects in the works?
Future projects in the works. If we're talking about strictly film, then I am trying to figure out what I want the next short to be, because I have a few ideas and a few scripts that are currently in the running. One for a dramatic sci-fi, and then another one for a polyamorous rom-com. And I'm just trying to be like, which one do I want to drop next year? Like, one of these are going to come out. So that is kind of what is currently in the works film-wise. And outside of that, there is always productions going on, whether it's music videos or commercials, promotional videos, even weddings and stuff that are happening within the company that we're always working on. Like, I just directed a music video yesterday, and it's for an artist called Jennifer Lauren. It's going to be super cool. We were using Astera pixel tubes, and we had like 32 of them, and then like 5 other lights, and we just lit up this whole room. Actually, if you go on my Instagram, it's still on my story, and you can see some of the clips on it. It was super cool, and I got to work with like a lot of great people to put all of that together. I have a dope team. They're awesome. Uh, but yeah, always looking for more artists and more opportunities to work with other people and other things. And then that's how come at the beginning, before we even started this, I was nagging you to find out things about you to see if there was anything you could be a part of too. Like it's always just, it's not, it's worked, but at the same time, it's love, and if you just treat it as love, like everything you're creating is the next best thing.
Oh, absolutely. It's so lovely to see your excitement about it and your enthusiasm for it. It's so translates also to just sort of the general energy of the festival. We just all love film so much, and it's so great to
Yeah.
see filmmakers that are still so enjoying what they're doing, and to see projects that are really unique and have such a great energy to them. Is there any, like, I know you mentioned Instagram. Are there any places that people can find you if they're curious and wanna see more from you?
Yeah, okay, shameless plug. I got this. If you want to go find me, you can hit up Instagram, AKIL period MCKENZIE. That's Akil.McKenzie. You could also just find me at akilmckenzie.com. And then from my Instagram, you can find Falling Motion. That's our video production company, which is just Falling Motion on Instagram, and the website is just fallingmotion.com. So if you need anything shot, let me know. And if you just want to see things I do from the film portion or the music portion or the poetry, there's tons. I'm an overall creative, so feel free to come and holla at your boy.
Amazing. I'll definitely check it out myself. Thank you
Sick.
so much, Akil. This has been such a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for joining us with Offscreen.
Oh, it was so fun. Thank you. Yo, OFFA is where it's at.
Bye, everyone. This podcast is executive produced by Maddie Kaiser and Wendy Donnan. The music is by Chris Shin. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone, and tune in next time.